I can't tell you how many business owners I talk to that boast about the fact that all the customers call their cell phone, and that's a huge problem.
1 in 4, or 25%, of inbound leads through digital marketing go unanswered.
Those are the leads you already paid for.
87% of the consumers that we polled would not hire a business that had less than 4 stars. That's like a 23-point lift from last year. So clearly, consumers becoming pickier.
But most folks are still operating based on the number of leads they got, and they don't know. And on today's episode, what separates a 7X exit from a 12X exit?
A direct mail comeback story backed by data from 12 different HVAC and plumbing businesses.
And what 2,000 homeowners told us that makes them call your competitor.
All right, let's get into it.
All right, here we are, third episode. Guys, thanks for the memo on the white shirts. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
We see you missed it.
Yeah, no one informed me. Did you guys coordinate this?
Of course.
No, we just have good taste.
All right, with that, let's talk about the first story. Man, I really want to backslap you right now. First story today. I know we've talked about private equity. We've talked a lot about M&A. There was a really interesting article that came out from CFOX about M&A and the outlook for 2026. A lot of talk around the difference in multiples. Like what is the profile of a business that exits at a 3 to 5x multiple versus a 7 versus a 12 plus? So there are a couple things that I'll just throw out to start that I found interesting. I think BQ said this in maybe the first or second episode. He talked about the median home age, kind of a prime time to be in the trade just because of the age of housing, mortgage costs. Nobody wants to move, therefore they're investing more to make sure that their home stays, in good order, good shape. The second stat about the article is just the importance of being multi-trade.
Yeah.
Right. Again, I think BQ mentioned that in another article. And then the third, which we really hadn't touched on, is kind of separating the businesses that really separate themselves from the low multiples versus the larger multiples. A, have really good recurring revenue, but B, they've kind of gotten away from being so dependent on being founder-led, right, as the primary kind of person in the business. So those are some kind of takeaways from me. BQ, obviously you do a lot of work in this space. What are your thoughts on this article?
Well, you have to really look at why would you pay more for something. You're going to discount whenever there's more risk, when there's less diversification, when there's a single point of failure. If the business owner is exits this, then what risk does that induce, right? So basically, it's a simple formula that these firms are going to pay a higher multiple for businesses that have intrinsically less risk, right? And that less risk comes from multi-trade diversification and the ability to execute across, at least the top three, plumbing, HVAC, and electrical. The ability to demonstrate. I thought this was a very interesting point in the article. The ability to demonstrate the predictable revenue as it must be core. If it's not, the article referenced, it said if membership revenue is below 15% of total revenue, that it would be classified as a high volatility business. And so that's going to discount your multiple. But it mentioned one thing that was very interesting. It said top quartile firms are at 28% of revenue being membership driven, which is, I think, would be, that's a super attractive business, right? Because really, while you might look at that revenue and you say the revenue is valuable, it's predictable and all that, what it's really saying, it's a signal that says this company can deliver outsized value and customer experience over a long period of time to keep people from canceling those things.
Yeah, I mean, look, if 30% of your customer base is paying you an annual fee,
let's go,
to get inside their home and to make sure that it's in good order, or to just give you an opportunity to find things that may not have presented themselves as being broken yet, and then getting more revenue from those jobs, it's interesting for sure.
On that, Jamie, I think a really interesting question that any home services business should ask is, what would have to be true for 28% of my customers to be willing to pay me an ongoing membership? That opens up a big question that's worth investigating. If you actually had to model that, what would be the behaviors you would have? What would be the systems you would have to have? What would be the services you'd have to have? And go kind of work backwards from that. That's a good whiteboard session for any home services business to go into.
Yeah. Well, you worked with a lot of businesses over the years that have sold to private equity, or they've sold to they've been in some type of M&A transaction. Yep. What are you seeing as the differences between the ones that get the lower multiples versus the one that get the higher multiples?
Yeah, so in my experience, it's two things. And one of them you hit on a minute ago. I can't tell you how many business owners I talk to that boast about the fact that all the customers call their cell phone. And that's a huge problem. They've built the brand around sometimes even their name, but let alone the way that they personally handle customers. And they've not created a scalable model that says that you don't need me there. All of the people that work for me are going to serve you exactly how I would. Yeah. And that's the first problem. The other side of it is and I know that this is usually not intentional, but the way that you manage your books is really important. And so when you're trying to get into an acquisition conversation and they start digging, behind the curtains to figure out how the business is operating from a financial perspective, those things have to be in line. If you suggest that your business is at a certain multiple, if you suggest that your business is at doing a certain amount of revenue with certain profitability, and then they peel back the onion and realize that you're not quite as profitable, every discussion changes at that point.
Yeah. You said something that's interesting about the owner operator that, my customers have my phone number and they call me or text me.
Yeah.
Like leaning into that as a value proposition. It's an interesting marketing ploy, but are you really building a great business?
It's not scalable. I
actually ask that question a lot because we get we have competitors that eat at us because we're the larger company and their value prop is, well, you get to talk to me. I'm the person. I don't know if that's the most valuable thing on the planet, to be honest with you. I think it's a cute marketing ploy, but I don't know.
It's not scalable.
It's definitely not scalable. There's no question about that. What about size of market? And I know that's a very difficult thing to kind of think about or to adjust because at the end of the day, you probably are where you are, right? But how are you seeing multiples impact the actual location of the business or the location of the business rather impacting the multiple?
Well, I think it's we know the big metros are, we said that it's like Thunderdome, right? It's they're and the sophistication in the marketing is only increasing, and the what we typically see is where our clients may be in a big market, they really eat the bottom of the market up.
Yeah.
Right. So fair. It's not that they're necessarily colliding and taking market share. They're consuming, vacuuming up all of the market share of the folks that don't have a sophisticated marketing, don't have technician recruitment processes. That's kind of what's happening in the bigger markets. I think in the mid markets or the smaller markets, there's a lot of opportunity, and there's opportunity for some of these brands that are, some of these adjacent markets that are either, I'm trying to think of there's some markets in North Carolina. There's markets in, certainly even in Texas.
Yeah,
right?
We've got clients that are focusing on markets like Tyler, Texas, which isn't Dallas, but it's still plenty of people.
Exactly, and I think those markets still have a lot of room for these best practices to come in, and if you start behaving as if you were a PE platform before you're having the conversation in those markets, you can do a lot of growth.
Yeah.
You can do a lot of growth.
One thing that just kind of struck me as you were talking about markets is your businesses that grow. Doesn't matter if you're independent or you're private equity backed and you've gotten a bunch of money dumped into you from the platform of the private equity group. The businesses that grow have an abundance mindset.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Think about the size of we live in Dallas. The three of us live in Dallas or DFW. You've got Milestone, who's an independent, huge business, sponsor like the Rangers, got billboards all over the place. Yep. You got Rescue Air, Josh Campbell, one of our clients, good friend, sold his business to private equity, great business. You got Bacon, you got Berkey's. Yep. You've got
Baker Brothers.
Baker Brothers, #1 Air, as an Apex platform company. Huge businesses.
Yeah.
None of them are out there complaining about market share being taken. They're just focused on growing and growing the business and doubling down.
Yeah, yeah, because they know that the numbers just show you're in a market that is growing.
Yeah,
you kind of have to just mess it up to not capture some.
That's right.
That's
right?
true. That's true.
And so that's where. But again, I get excited when I see we've got a client that's in Tyler, and they have. It's been a great turnaround story. with one of our platforms, and it's really an example of like they had the right leader, they bolted on, ServiceTitan, Scorpion, they put things together, and it is just going. They're eating up market share in that region that was there, and frankly, the competition is not super sophisticated, so that's why they're winning.
Yeah, and I think that, like, going back to the comment you made earlier, not every portfolio company is the same, and so there are portfolio companies that are intentionally just targeting markets like Tyler, because while the multiples may still be good, the price of the business is maybe not as high because the total addressable market, they haven't grown as much, so you can still get good businesses that have tons of TAM, total addressable market opportunity, without having to dump as much into marketing or even buy the business at the same price.
Yeah, well, look, this article is great. Again, we'll put the article in the show notes. I think the takeaway here is that, look, you don't have to be a private equity-backed business to operate with the fundamentals like private equity-backed businesses typically operate around. And again, this is having good processes, making sure that you've got great subscription revenue to the extent that it's possible, have multiple trades, and then just make sure that you've got all the right systems, the right field service management platform, the right marketing partner and marketing strategy. Again, you don't have to be private equity owned to start operate and think about your business through the lens of, if I do want to sell it one day, how can I maximize the value for myself, my employees, and my family? So really, really great article. Let's go to the next story.
This episode is brought to you by Scorpion. Many businesses juggle multiple marketing vendors and still lack clarity. Scorpion brings everything together in one platform, from advertising to websites to AI tools, so you can simplify your strategy and scale it with confidence. Visit scorpion.co to learn more now.
All right, so next story we're going to talk about, direct mail is dead. Not really. Great article by our friends over at Searchlight on their Substack about the case for direct mail. So, Woody, what are your thoughts on direct mail? You advise businesses doing this or no go?
I'm a huge fan of direct mail when it's done the right way.
Explain.
I think that the traditional mentality around direct mail is to send as many flyers as possible, send as many postcards as possible, and you'll hope to get a 1% engagement rate from that and hope that it produces revenue. And what do you do with most of the mailers or the postcards that come into the mail? They go straight to the trash. And so I think that mentality is dead. But I think that intentional and targeted direct mail is absolutely well alive. And we've got amazing partners with people like ServiceTitan that have tools like Marketing Pro that allow us to get hyper targeted in the way that we're not just who we're sending postcards to, but the messages that are on those postcards that are in the text messages and the emails and all the way down to direct mail. So I think that as long as you've got systems in play to put the right message in front of the right person, direct mail shouldn't be overlooked. But if you're trying to target an entire metro, you're going to waste a lot of money.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've got a big franchise customer here at Scorpion that we've worked with for 11 years now. They built their business on the backs of direct mail. Mm-hmm. They still continue to pour a ton of money into direct mail. It's a great marketing channel for them. I think a couple stats that jumped out to me about this article from Searchlight was, one, the difference in cost per customer acquisition in the customers or the businesses that they monitored who did direct mail versus Google ads. So direct mail cost per acquisition, $215. Google ads, $411. The average ticket from these direct mail acquisition customers was much higher. So the average ticket value was higher. BQ, many of our private equity platform companies, are they investing in direct mail as a channel? What are you seeing there?
They are, but in more and more as you get sophisticated systems like ServiceTitan and Marketing Pro to be able to very hyper target these efforts, right? And I don't think, yes, I don't know that direct mail is dead. I kind of wish sometimes it was dead because our mailbox would be a little bit less full of nonsense. But hyper targeted direct mail is that is the skill set. And I think what we also see when we think about direct marketing, and this can include email, text, and direct mail, that the businesses that do that at a high level of sophistication, it lifts all boats. Like their cost per customer acquisition goes down, average tickets goes up, and it's also one of the lowest hanging fruit that most people really haven't been picking at a high level of sophistication. But direct mail specifically, I was thinking about this. There's tremendous opportunity if you think about things like roofing, think about lawn service, anything where Plumbing and HVAC have kind of the challenge of you've done the fix and you can't really see the result on the outside of the house. But certainly any house where you have the outcome is a visual, garage door, roofing, lawn, landscaping, things like that. When's the best time to sell the neighbor? Right after the job was done,
True.
right? So, simple things that we've got some clients doing, like targeting the neighbors of every new customer after the job is done, right? Easy, right? That kind of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that I always find that direct mail lands with me when I've got familiarity with the brand.
Already, yeah.
Right, already, yeah. So like I get direct mail quite a bit from Milestone, right? And again, I know Milestone because they got billboards all over the city. If I go to a Rangers game, I'm going to see Milestone at the game. They do a great job on the digital side too. They spend a ton of money there, right? So I've got some brand familiarity. So when I get a drop, I immediately kind of recognize the font of how they spell their brand, their colors.
Yeah.
The other one I get a lot, it takes an interesting take because I think the creative on direct mail makes a big impact.
Yeah, for sure.
Like what is the actual creative of the piece that you're sending? But one that I always find interesting is Renewal by Anderson. I don't know if you guys get drops with them, but it always kind of comes with what looks like a personalized letter.
Yep.
Like a handwritten letter, even though I can tell it's not really handwritten. It looks close enough.
Right.
And it's personalized enough to like kind of get my attention. I've never bought from them, but at least I do have some brand. If I ever needed that service, that business would certainly be in the mix. Again, when you think about targeting though, and think about this through the lens of a trades business, a plumbing, HVAC, electrical business. If you were thinking about creating your first direct mail campaign and you used a platform like Service Titan where you know information about your customers and you can parse your customer data, who are you sending out this campaign? Who are you focused on? What's the creative like? Who's the audience?
Yeah. So when you've got Marketing Pro or systems like Marketing Pro, one of the benefits is that you don't have to just segment one. You can create multiple audience builders that are going to target people that hit different criteria. Yeah. So one of the first areas of low-hanging fruit are people that just haven't bought yet. People have come into the business. You may have given them a quote or an estimate.
Okay.
But they haven't actually bought yet.
So you can start there.
Those are the most recent people that you've talked to. And then outside of the most recent people that you've had at-bats with, it would be then people that have been in your system before but haven't done business with you in quite some time to try to bring them back into the organization.
Okay. You got a different opinion on that, or would you roll with something similar?
No, I think I would tag onto that. I would just say I kind of come back to I would target the neighbors of all of our best clients.
Yeah.
Right. So who are, literally you can target the neighbors. How can I turn our best clients into salespeople? That's how you can get scale as a sales team for your sales team, is like turn all of our clients into salespeople in some way. Hey, go give this to your neighbor and they get $100 off or whatever, right?
Yeah.
We had, I can think of one particular example of this, Outdoor Lighting Perspectives. I'll plug them. Amazing, incredible business. Did our lighting for our home. Another example of that, they have a referral program and it's one of those where our house went from being dark to amazing, beautiful. Yeah. And our neighbors were like, hey, who's your guy? And I'm like, well, my guy had already sent us a thing that I was like, here, call Jim. And sure enough, he did, and he got the referral, and so there was a program there to even like we would get a free light or something. But I was definitely his salesperson. Yeah. And now there's like 4 houses on our street that have lights.
It's funny you mentioned the creative side. One of my clients in Georgia did the exact same thing, but the physical piece that he sent looked like a gift card. And it was the psychology behind there's a monetary value to this gift card that I can use. And it was one of the best direct mail pieces he's ever done.
Interesting. I think the other thing about direct mail, and this kind of tying back into digital, if you're going to do direct mail that's targeted specifically like at a geography, like a zip code level, like layer in digital behind the direct mail. Again, this is like one of our this franchise client that I talked about earlier, kind of built their business on the backs of direct mail. One of the genius things that we started doing for them in partnership with them was they were doing all these mail drops, and we were actually running Instagram and Facebook ad campaigns with similar creative to kind of reinforce the messaging, right, in the same area. So I think that we all agree, like direct mail is certainly not dead. There's a lot of runway that you can get with direct mail, both on the direct response side and then also just in brand equity and memory. I think that the important thing is just thinking about what's the mix.
Yeah.
Like how does this fit with all of my other marketing that I want to make sure that I'm doing? And then making sure that you're just being thoughtful about who you're targeting, what the creative is, what the value proposition and calls to action are, not just spraying and praying as you guys.
And then being consistent. Being consistent. Right. So it's not just like we tried it once and then it didn't work.
Yeah.
It's got to be like, no, this is our part of our consistent mix. And then yes, it needs to be harmonized with everything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think just like anything else, it depends on the circumstances. I've got businesses that I've talked to recently that have been around for 80 years and they've got a 6-figure number in their customer database and none of them are getting direct mail. Yeah. And there are, in my opinion, situations like that. And by the way, they're not getting any text messages or emails either. They're not doing any cross-selling. And those are businesses that are already spending 6 figures in pay-per-click advertising or LSAs. And there are, in my opinion, there's more revenue growth opportunity in adding in things like direct mail and text messages and email than there would be doubling their PPC budget.
Yeah.
Got to activate your list.
Yeah.
You got to activate your customer list. You got to activate your old lead list. And direct mail is a great channel to do that. Okay, let's move on to our final story for the day. All right, our last story comes straight from Scorpion's own research team. They surveyed 2,000 homeowners and nearly 1,000 home service operators across the U.S. to find out where the biggest gaps are between what customers expect and what businesses actually deliver. You can download the entire report with the link in the show notes. Let's get into it. All right, so for our final story today, we're going to talk a little bit about some research that Scorpion recently released, the State of Home Services Marketing in 2026. This is the second year that we've done this report. I'm just going to call out a couple of findings that I found really, really fascinating. Now, in this, we interviewed 2,000 customers or consumers and 1,000 business operators. So it was kind of a multifaceted look at consumer behavior and also how businesses are operating and thinking about things in 2026. So first stat was this 4-star cliff in reviews just got higher. So now this year's stats at 87% of the consumers that we polled would not hire a business that had less than 4 stars in their reviews. That's like a 23-point lift from last year. So clearly consumers becoming pickier, right? Next one, AI search is here and most business operators don't know what to do about it, right? So 80% or so said they didn't have a plan for AI search. Stock photos and no videos on your website are costing you money. Most operators are spending blind. Almost 70% cannot connect their marketing spend to actual revenue. And then the one that I just think is low-hanging fruit is that 1 in 4 or 25% of inbound leads through digital marketing go unanswered.
Yeah. Crazy. And as a marketer, just incredibly frustrating.
Yeah. So Brian, I know, we've talked a lot about this. You did a great presentation with one of our customers on this a few weeks back. What are some things about this that, you would advise, businesses in the trades and home services to kind of pay attention to and lock into to get better or improve?
Well, I think the 4-star thing, like I sometimes talk to folks like, we can help you if you have a good reputation. I can't help you if you have a bad reputation.
Yeah.
Sorry. Like I just can't. There's no website, no amount of marketing is going to solve what is ultimately like a culture or an execution or operations problem. So that's just table stakes, right? So, I mean, it's good for the consumer, right? That's part of it.
Yeah.
The 1 in 4 calls going unanswered. I had a CMO recently ask me, she said, hey, BQ, what kind of marketing budget would I need if we never dropped a lead? I'm like, that is a good question.
Powerful question.
Great question.
So, if there was any single lowest hanging fruit, would be to solve operationally whatever that problem is, right? And we know there's elements in terms of the way call centers are working and AI and all this kind of stuff. But this is not rocket science.
Those are the leads you already paid for.
It's a complex thing, but at the same time, it's simple because it's what systems or processes we have to put in place to make sure that the thing is answered every time. In terms of the one that stands out to me the most, though, is that the operators are operating blind. And I think this is where some of the innovation that's come from our relationship with ServiceTitan and other CRMs has been moving past this one-directional. You send data to a CRM. Anybody can do that. That's table stakes.
Yeah.
The distinction comes whenever you can bring the data back and then not just bring it back for reporting, but then action it into optimization. That's what's required. Now think about what the implications are of having that level of certainty for the operator. I can look at my numbers, I can see the math, and then when it comes time to ask the question like, wow, we're running at a 7, 8, 9 ROAS, at that point I have certainty to put capital in and know that I'm going to get something out on the other side. Even if I drop my ROAS efficiency a little bit, I'm going to drive more revenue.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Think about if you don't have that. Like we've almost gotten to the point where like that's normal for us, but most folks are still operating based on the number of leads they got and they don't know. And so you're always faced with your marketing investment is always this kind of uncertainty, guessing, trying different things. And that is a very expensive way to operate.
Yeah. Couldn't agree with you more. And then assuming you have those things, I remember we did an event at Google's headquarters last year, excited for the one that's coming up, and they brought their LSA team out and their advertising team, and they said advertising on PMax, Performance Max advertising, is good. Advertising on Performance Max with low quality or crappy video is great. And advertising on Performance Max with great video is even better. So even if you don't have the most amazing assets or the highest quality assets, you've got to have assets that are representing what's happening on the job, what's happening in the office. And those things are ultimately going to impact how much money you're making from the advertising that you're spending.
That's well said.
Yeah, I think one of the things that surprised me most about this year's study was consumers' reaction to stock photography and businesses not having video.
Yeah.
Because look, I think we've got a lot of data inside because we manage tens of thousands of websites for businesses, and we see the businesses that have, non-stock personal photography and video and what they convert at versus websites that don't have that. So I think inherently, like we knew there was a difference.
Yeah.
But to hear that come out of the consumer's mouths, because what you hear a lot of times talking to trades businesses is like, well, I'm just a plumbing or an HVAC company. No one really cares about what's on my website. But they just need the phone number. And this data showed that is just not true.
That's not true.
Yeah, that it directly impacts the ROAS that you mentioned earlier. ROAS being return on ad spend. How much money am I spending in advertising and how much money am I making back?
Yeah. I don't know. It was really fascinating. What about, there's going back to this, you've already paid for these leads. Make sure that you capture them. What are you seeing there? Like, how are businesses improving that? Because I think that's one of the things that we've really been leaning into as a partner for a lot of these companies in the last couple of years specifically, is like helping them kind of understand this gap that exists. Because oftentimes they don't have a lead problem.
Yeah.
They don't have a lead problem. They have a conversion problem.
Yeah.
And this is, this was calls. This isn't talking about the text related inbound.
Text, Google LSA messages,
right?
Contact messages, right?
Social media.
Yeah. 100%.
I mean, I had one of those like moments a couple of months ago where I saw a Facebook message come into a client, and it literally all it said was HVAC install Sunnyvale. Something like it, that was very cryptic.
Yeah.
And if you could think about if I'm a customer service representative on the other side of that, and if I get that and I've got phones ringing and all kinds of stuff is happening, that comes in, like that is not very interesting to try to chase down.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
But I saw our technology activate and go, hey, yes, we can help you. Where are you located? What kind of HVAC are you interested in? Would you like an in-person estimate? And it went all the way down, booked it right into Service Titan, like no person ever touched it. And I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's a big unlock. It's a
big unlock.
Yeah. What are you seeing? How are you seeing businesses start to adopt things like AI answering services?
Yeah.
AI response to messaging and things of that nature.
Well, one of the things to call out is that every business that reaches out to us wants to spend more money in LSAs. They want to spend as much money as possible. And guess what happens when you don't respond to leads that come in through LSAs? You're going to really struggle, right? So having some sort of system to make sure that doesn't fall through the cracks is incredibly important. And when you talk to people on the ground level in the home services space, the big discussion is AI answering services and how AI CSRs are going to be able to offset the fact that we're missing calls, and the apprehension stems from, well, the AI agent may not provide the same customer experience that my CSRs are going to, and that could cause a drop-off in people that are booking. Well, if you're missing the calls anyway, people, then what are you really risking? And the reality is that even if you I think our technology right now is showing an increase of 36% in 39%
yeah.
increase in booking ratio. Well, we're missing 25% of the calls. So that right there should offset the money that we're missing. And the reality is that that's straight to the bottom line because like you said, those are leads that we're already paying for.
Yeah, I think just to kind of tighten that up really quick, just to make sure that people know what these stats are throwing around. We've got AI technology that we leverage here at Scorpion in a product called Convert that a lot of our customers choose to use. It's both a voice technology and it's also a messaging answering technology. So if you're running Google LSAs, you're running Thumbtack or any of these kind of messaging types of pay-per lead platforms, we've got our technology actually auto responds for you. And when we see customers adopt that tool, we see an increase in booking of about 39%. So it's significant. There are a lot of tools out there, but again, I think that the lesson here is do everything in your power as a business owner or operator to capitalize on the investments that you're making in marketing.
Yep.
And not let things fall through the cracks.
And I think you could make the argument that it's never been easier to do that than it is now. Like,
1,000%.
Right? It used to be you would have to figure out a call center or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
who do I hire? Yeah,
how
do I keep them employed? How do I make sure they don't turn over?
And there still may be all of that, but there's also now there's now solutions like that can in using like good psychology to walk somebody through the questions that to get them all the way to booking, right?
Yeah.
You're not dealing with a dumb chat agent like we've dealt with in the past. Like these things are getting smarter and there's no reason to miss any more calls.
Look, if you're interested in this report, you can download the report at scorpion.co. We'll put a link to the direct download in the show notes. Guys, good episode today. Lots of fun. We'll be back next time, okay?